6:30 p.m. May everybody please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anybody have any issues up here with the agenda?
Nope.
All right, neither do I. Public comments. Any public comments regarding anything not on this agenda that is being discussed tonight? Any other action items that's not on the agenda? Going once, going twice. All right. We could start. Am I missing anything?
Minutes.
Want to do the
Let's do the
minutes?
minutes.
Yep, thank you. See, in full moon, minutes. Need glasses. All right, the minutes. Any questions, concerns, and issues with the minutes from the previous month?
Nope.
I reviewed them earlier. I had no issues. Seems to be all there. That was a long one.
Very.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the minutes, please? Of September 8th.
Motion to approve September 8th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting as written.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion carries. Motion carries. It is. Joanna, you agree?
All
Jenny,
in favor, I'm aye. Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Carries. All right. On to item number 2, please. Commission discussion and action items.
Yes, this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Minneola, Florida, granting variances to Land Development Code Sections 94-4 F 7B regarding blank walls, 94-4 F 9B regarding roof edge and parapet treatment, and Section 94-4 F9C4 regarding roofing materials for property generally located north of Citrus Grove Road, south of Sullivan Road, and west of the Florida Turnpike, providing for conditions, providing for recordation, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And since this is a public hearing, I will swear in anyone that's going to be speaking tonight. So if you plan on speaking this evening, if you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Eric, go ahead.
Right. Thank you and good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is the lone agenda item this evening. Agenda item number 2, this is the Camp Lake industrial variances. The location of the project is west of North Hancock Road and Florida's Turnpike. As you can see outlined on the screen, it's north of Citrus Grove Road. It's about 32 acres in size. That's the first phase of the proposed industrial park. It's zone PUD. It's within the Hills of Minneola PUD, which was approved some time ago, and I'll run through the history on that in just a moment. And the access comes from what's known as Turkey Farm Road. You can see the small access that connects back to Citrus Grove Road. So the Hills of Minneola PUD was originally approved back in 2006. There was a significant amendment to that plan development back in 2019. That amendment designated this entire area as industrial/research park. So you can see it on the screen outlined. The subject property is highlighted in the red box. There's a future phase around Camp Lake, which you can see to the north and to the west of the subject property. Which will come forward, likely after this project's underway or constructed. If you look back at those Hills of Minneola design guidelines, there are design guidelines in there for a variety of different uses, particularly residential, commercial. For example, the Publix in the Hills followed the design guidelines. But when you look at the section for industrial and research park, I've highlighted on the screen, it says future design guidelines for this area will be developed and will be highlighted by a lake as an integral feature of the development. And that's all it says. regarding the industrial. So to my knowledge, those industrial design guidelines were never prepared or approved by the city. So when we review these cases, we really just have to go back to the standard architectural standards for the city in the Land Development Code. The PUD is approved for 1.4 million square feet of industrial uses. We're not here to debate industrial versus non-industrial as the use of the site today. That's been approved. It's well underway in terms of some of the commitments have been made by the applicant. So 1.4 million square feet are already approved. And just, you may recall seeing some similar variances to these for some other projects. For example, Crooked Can got some relief from some of the blank wall areas, which is under construction now. And they did that through a variance process, so they came through here. And then Advent Health, in terms of the hospital, they had some relief that was inserted directly in their development agreement. This one's a little different because it didn't have any special carve-outs in the development agreement, so they have to come through the variance process. Just some history on the site plan itself. It was submitted back in 2024, and it was approved in concept by City Council on December 17th, 2024. You can see it on the screen here. It's split into two buildings. If you're looking at the screen, north is to your left, just to orient you. It's about 378,000 square feet of industrial. But when that was approved by council, there were no architectural drawings included with that submittal. So we requested those drawings to finalize the site plan, and those were submitted in late July. And then the applicant realized that they were unable to meet some of the requirements of code, so they submitted variances in September, which brings us to today. So there's 3 specific variances. All have been outlined in memos in your staff report packet. The first is a variance to allow for blank wall areas in excess of 10 feet vertically and 20 feet horizontally. The second one is a parapet variance to remove the parapet from the portion of the roof fronting the turnpike. And the third variance is to allow for a TPO membrane roof. The code requires either the metal or tile to be the primary roofing material. And that's a variance that's been granted by council in the past. I believe the last one was for the Oak Valley commercial. They were able to get some relief from that provision of the code. These are the proposed elevations, and the applicant has a full presentation where they're going to run through the details of the elevations, so I'll be a little light on the description here. And I'll just disclose that the applicant and I have traded a couple emails over today just to ensure that their presentation is essentially covering the criteria for the variance, which we're bound by. So you'll hear from them, and so when you see some of these placeholders in my presentation that say we've requested additional information, that's going to be provided by the applicant tonight at our request. So building elevations, the elevation on the top, I know it's tough to see at the scale. 2 buildings. This is building A. The turnpike facing side is on the top, and then kind of you see all the bay doors and things of that nature fronting on the turnpike, and then the front of the building, which faces inward towards Founder's Ridge, which is approved for similar industrial uses, is the second elevation you see, and then you can see the sides of the buildings as well. Building B looks almost identical to Building A, just a little bit different size. Again, the bay doors face the turnpike, and then the kind of dressed up sides on the other side. You've all been on this board for long enough you probably know these criteria as well as I do, but these are the variance criteria directly out of the code, section 98-13. First one is you can't result in a reduction in property values for the surrounding properties. The second is the variance has to be in the public interest. 3 is the denial would be an unnecessary hardship to the applicant. 4, it can't be contrary to the spirit of the Land Development Code. 5 and 6 are a little bit unique. 5 is that the financial disadvantage to the applicant can't be the only reason why you find there's a hardship. So, and while The applicant's going to speak a little bit about the financials. Their justification goes beyond financial disadvantage. They are claiming different efficiencies and things of that nature, which I'll certainly defer to their presentation for that. And then 6 is physical hardships can be considered, but in this case, no one has claimed a physical hardships. That one's not really applicable. So in terms of the first variance request, the blank walls, 10-foot vertically, 20-foot horizontally. We performed a review and provided a memo that's in your backup. In terms of property values, they have provided relief and reveal work, so they have worked with color and other things to kind of articulate the building, and they're also providing some landscaping to provide additional visual interest. And typically these types of variances don't really reduce property values, so that wasn't as much of a concern for us from a staff perspective. In terms of the public interest, we do feel that there's the potential to add tenant flexibility just due to dock placements, racking layouts, and tenant build-out options. So for example, with Crooked Can, they had a great justification that, you know, they have this large industrial area where they're brewing beer, and you know they're not necessarily going to be able to put a bunch of windows in that location because the beer is there. So similarly, they're trying to maximize their options for their tenants to make sure the building is functional as well as visually interesting for the community. Hardship, the applicant suggests compliance will impair tenant functionality. I'll certainly defer to them to explain their logic there. Spirit of the Land Development Code. If you read the purpose and intent of the architectural portion of the LDC, it's really to enhance visual appearance. So the applicant suggested that can be accomplished through landscaping. Financial disadvantage, they have stated that there's a financial disadvantage to doing some of this stuff, but it's not the only reason for the request, as you can see by their justification for the hardship. And then of course the physical hardship was not claimed in this situation. Parapets, similarly, these are the architectural features that work to screen rooftop mechanical equipment on top of the buildings. They have added a note to the plan that requires parapets to be on 3 sides of the building, but they want to leave the back portion adjacent to the turnpike open. I think our concern from staff is just making sure all of the rooftop mechanical and other stuff that's more, utilitarian in nature is screened from the public view. So we have requested some additional information. Hopefully they're prepared to provide some of that tonight. I did see an email from the applicant essentially running through these criteria, and they've taken it to heart, and they want to provide that information per staff's request. In terms of the diminution of property values, we did request additional information to ensure all that rooftop mechanical is screened. Public interest, hardship, and spirit of the Land Development Code, we requested additional information from the applicant. They're prepared tonight to disclose that. Financial disadvantage, we did request additional information on that one as well, and they've responded there's some design inefficiencies will occur by providing that additional parapet, so that's something we need to discuss. And then again, they didn't claim a physical hardship. And then finally, the last one is the TPO thermoplastic polyolefin roof material. This likely wasn't a primary consideration when the Hills Minneola design guidelines or the code was written. Those documents both reference tile and metal roofs. Staff's perspective has always been if we can't see it, I don't think we're as concerned with what's up there as long as it's functional. If you recall, back to the dentist office in Oak Valley, everything was screened with a parapet, and you wouldn't have known if there was a metal roof, a tile roof, a plastic roof, no roof. You would have no idea. So that's kind of been our thought when we review these things. Flat roofs, again, are permitted within the city. It's just that the material for those flat roofs typically is not made of metal or tile. It's usually one of these membranes. So the criteria, we did request additional information on the property values. We just want to make sure it's not visible from surrounding properties. We requested additional information on public interest. Again, we want to make sure it's not visible. And even if it is visible, it's not likely to diminish property values. I mean, a metal roof, tile roof, membrane roof, it's all going to look, comparable from a distance. Hardship, we have requested additional information on the sightlines. The applicant's prepared to discuss that. Spirit of the Land Development Code, I'll just say that, as I mentioned, flat roofs are not specifically prohibited in the Land Development Code, just says they need to be screened with a parapet. Financial disadvantage, they are claiming that this roof material is more energy efficient, so it's not just for financial purposes, it's just a better way to construct the building. So I'll certainly defer to the applicant on that. And then again, no hardship was claimed from a physical perspective. So there were some additional requests for information. The applicant's here, they have a full presentation. Hopefully it's not as long as mine. And they'll be able to run through each of the specific requests, their project, and why they need the relief. So with that, I'll stand for questions, or if you want to hear from the applicant, I'm certainly glad to come back up. Thanks.
Applicant.
Thank you. The applicant?
Hey, good evening. My name's Kevin Castile with Strategic Real Estate Partners. I'm the owner of the property and developer for the property. Before we start, I just want to say thank you for coming here tonight for this one agenda item. Sorry to get you out in the rain, but really appreciate y'all's time. And just want to also say the staff, Eric and the staff have been excellent to work with the last 3 years at this point, but specifically the last 6 months as we've really made a push to get started on the project. We've been working on this project for over 3 years, excited about being in the city of Minneola. Feel like we're kind of the gateway to the city a little bit. Our site is, kind of the first thing you see when you get off the turnpike, and everything else that's been developed at that interchange has been done very thoughtfully, very well, very pleasing to the eye for the most part. And we want to make sure we're continuing that in our project and what we're trying to accomplish. So anything we've asked for has been very well thought out. It has not been asked just for financial convenience or to get the easy route. I mean, we really put a lot of thought and have tried to really narrow down our ask to as few changes as possible to the code. But before I get into the presentation, just the real kind of quick things I want to hit on is that criteria. I know Eric went through a lot of that in detail, but I just wanted to kind of give you our standpoint on why we believe those 5 criteria that we're need to be met in order to get the variance, that we're meeting those as part of this request. So first, the project nor the variances that we're requesting, if granted, will diminish any of the values of the surrounding properties. Actually, it's going to do the opposite. It's going to increase the values of the surrounding properties. We're improving Turkey Farm Road from what's today a 20-foot wide right-of-way dirt road to a 3-lane sidewalked parkway to get onto the site, and the neighboring properties will also have access to that road and be able to use it for their development. Also, we are going to pay for that road and maintain the cost of that road going forward. The city will not bear any of those costs as part of the ongoing maintenance of the project. Second, would the project be a public benefit? We believe it would, for things such as the Turkey Farm Road improvement. In general, our project, this property was zoned industrial as part of the original Hills of Minneola PUD for a reason. It was to bring jobs to the area, a variety of jobs, and our project and our property and development will do that, which will be of public benefit. If we are denied our request, it will create a hardship for the project, in several ways. Some of those were already mentioned, but most importantly, it will cause the property to be less functional and have less flexibility for future tenants, less energy efficient, things of that nature. And so we want to make sure we can attract the highest quality tenants and users to the areas, who therefore can hopefully provide the best type of jobs to the areas for this type of product. And we want to make sure we're, because it's a speculative project, that what we're providing is attractive to users and tenants to bring them to this area. The use is consistent with the land development code set forth in the Hills of Minneola PUD. And then, the 5th one, the financial disadvantage. Just want to make it clear that we're not requesting this for financial inconvenience. It's really because of all the other things that Eric and I have outlined. All right, so jumping into the presentation. I'm going to try to keep this more high level, show some pictures and illustrations to help kind of hopefully visualize what we're asking for. So this is the first two buildings of what will ultimately be most likely a 7-building park. As Eric mentioned, the current guidelines in the PD do not have like specifications set forth for industrial standards like they do for the other types of standards. So we're falling back to just the general city code. Instead of going through each of the 3 variances again, since you've already heard that, I'm going to just kind of skip to the exhibit section here. Obviously, the text is too small to read there for you, but I'll kind of give you the highlights of what it says. So what we've done is we've taken each side of the buildings, both the first and second building, provided elevations, and then compared those to the percentages that we're meeting relative to what the code currently requires. So what I mean by that is from a blank wall space, the back side of the building that faces the turnpike, we're currently meeting the section of the building, 94% of the building meets the current code. Only 6% does not from a blank wall space. From a horizontal blank wall space, 52% of the building meets it versus what's currently required. So what that means is, like for the industrial building there, those concrete tilt wall panels, they're being lifted. The sections that did not have a change in color scheme or a change in material or reveal or something that nature, there's a certain section that per the current code cannot, the blank wall can only be a certain size. And as you can see, the portions above our dock doors are larger than what is currently required by our code. But for the functionality of the building, that is what is needed in order to construct the building to have maximum flexibility on the number of dock doors, exit doors, et cetera. So some things we've done to help increase the visual appearance is along that entire dock wall, we've added skylights, not on the roof, but on the side of the building, and along that entire wall to add more glass on the exterior of the building and natural light inside the building. And then on the front of the building there, which is that second line down there, as you can see, we're designing these buildings to have quite a bit of office space in them. So a lot of I would say in other markets or other locations, we may build a building this size and have an office pod on each end, and that's it. Everything else is warehouse space. But as you can see, we're actually constructing these buildings to have anywhere from 4 to 8 tenants per building. So we believe this area in this market is going to attract kind of tenants more in that 20 to 40,000 square foot range, kind of your showroom type tenants. Maybe it's just for example, granite countertop showroom or a home building supply showroom, things of that nature that are typically a little bit smaller, more customers coming into the space versus just pure distribution, racking, storage space. So along the front of the buildings, we are using a lot more glass and features and things of those natures to make it more of a showroom feel for the community and for the users that are entering those facilities. So to give you an idea, industry standard for the front of the building would be around 70% for vertical blank wall space, and we're at 84%. Just to show you we are going above what would be kind of like what we would say is a Class A industry standard building. Then, so I'm going to kind of skip through here. So not repetitive, obviously this is just the other building, so the 2 buildings we kind of outlined specifically. And then this is what I wanted to spend a little more time on the exhibits. So these next 3 exhibits are line of sight studies that show our landscape plan. So where you are on the turnpike, looking back towards the site, showing the vegetation that's being proposed as part of our site plan package and how that will help shield the truck court. One thing I want to be clear of, that to the right there, that little light yellow block on the bottom, that is not the building. That is showing a viewpoint of the back of like a tractor trailer truck. So the building's obviously taller than that. I don't want that to be misrepresented in that picture, but this kind of gives you an idea of as you're on the turnpike versus where our building will sit in our truck court area, the line of sight that you would see looking into that truck court. And I have some prettier pictures here in a moment that'll represent this even better. So I'll kind of flip through these quickly. But just to give you an idea, these first 2 buildings sit relative to the same finished floor elevation as the turnpike does at this area. So there is a berm then landscaping, and then our building. So depending on where you are on that exit ramp or on the turnpike, we'll kind of give you different elevations looking back at the building. And where this gets where this gets important is related to the parapet walls that we are going to build versus the ones that we're asking for a variance on. Highlighted there in orange are the walls that we are proposing to construct, that are the parapet walls. Those are being constructed to hide any equipment that are on the roof. Our offices will be located on the, call it the non-turnpike side of the building. That's where the majority of those walls are being constructed so that the units can be placed behind those walls so they're not visible from public right-of-way. And I have some line of sight elevations to show that. So we'll first look at building A, and so this kind of gives you 2 points, one standing on what will be Turkey Farm Road once it's constructed, and then the turnpike, the distances from the buildings, the line of sight, if you're standing in those locations looking up at the building, and as you can see, the line of sight would not, you would not see the equipment that is on the roof of the buildings for either building A or B. All right, and then this is just additional illustration to give you more of a true visual of what it's going to look like as you're coming down the turnpike. So if you're coming south on the turnpike and you're going to exit to the west, these 3 points, the next 3 pictures I'm going to show you, those are the visuals of what you would see. So this would be the first one. Obviously, pretty green grass is probably a little bit of a stretch of what that's going to look like directly at the turnpike, but that first, call it 20 feet is not our property, it's public right away. But then past that, this would be, kind of what you'd be looking back, seeing from the turnpike. This, I'll flip back really quick to give you an idea. Here in green, so the first one was in orange. Here in green, this would be your visual. And as you can see, because the building's at a similar elevation as the street and you're looking up at it, you're not able to see really anything that would be up on the roof. And then the third here as you're getting off the exit there in blue. So another thing, this assumes that none of the existing vegetation stays. So we wanted to be, some of the existing vegetation is going to stay, but we wanted to show from a picture standpoint, if all the existing vegetation was gone and this was just what we were putting back, this is what the visual would look like. So this kind of shows you worst case scenario of what that visual would be. In closing, we're requesting 3 specific variances that we've tried to narrow down as much as possible. We still feel like we're consistent with the ordinance intent in all aspects of the project and what we're trying to accomplish, both for the site and for what the city is on the property for. We want to make sure that as we're building a speculative property, we have flexibility as much as possible to attract highest and best users to the property. You want to make sure we're developing a Class A modern facility, and we want to make sure that the things that we're requesting are consistent still within the PUD. I mean, do not disalign us from what was originally intended as part of the PUD. So once again, thank you for your time tonight. I know I talked fast through a lot of that, but happy to dig into more details or answer more specific questions on any of that you would like to talk through.
Thank you. All right, going from my left to right, Mr. McCoy.
Couple questions. I know we had this come up some time ago, and I think the community was here, and the largest concern was traffic flow from the trucks. You mentioned if you're exiting into coming north from south, north to, or it wouldn't be north, it would be west to east, and you exit onto Hancock, turn on Citrus Grove, and then make a right turn into Turkey Farm. How far does the project sit from Turkey Farm Road? Or not Turkey Farm, Citrus Grove?
So from Citrus Grove Road back to the building is the question?
Right.
Okay. So, let's see.
Estimate, it didn't have
Yeah,
to be.
I don't have an exact measure. I was trying to see, so from Turkey Farm Road, so the intersection of where we're improving Turkey Farm, I'll zoom here. Actually, let's go. I got some extra exhibits in here that'll help. So, right there where, that is going to be the Turkey Farm Road improvement there leading to the buildings. And that building is roughly, let's see. I don't want to tell you wrong.
So, Matt,
Okay, so that building, just to give you a point of perspective, that building on the right is 950 feet plus or minus long. And that road is longer than that building. So call it 1,000 feet is the improvements being done to Turkey Farm Road.
Can you go to the
So-
other site plan picture, the one that you had? Yeah,
These are just the
okay.
individual buildings, but this is the overall master plan. And obviously, today, we're only in for permit for the first two buildings. The other ones are conceptual, but to be clear, but this is the overall master plan. And as part of our overall master plan, and I know today we're not here to talk specifically about the zoning, as we're not requesting any sort of zoning change, but I'm happy to use this opportunity to answer any questions or concerns that you may have or you've gotten from the public. So,
Brian, I'm trying to get some information, and
Yeah.
some things came up from
yeah, absolutely.
meeting we had some time ago.
So Turkey Farm Road, we're gonna widen it to 3 lanes. It's gonna be about 1,000 feet plus or minus long. And the reason we're going to 3 lanes is because it's a parkway that'll service multiple buildings eventually, not just these first 2. We want to make sure there's plenty of staging along that road in the event there's ever any sort of traffic backup, so that backup does not happen along Citrus Grove, North Hancock, the interchange, et cetera. So that is the reason for having, such a long road. And we were not required to make it 3 lanes by code. 2 lanes was all that was required per the city code, but we made it 3 lanes. We made it wider for that reason. We felt like for a project of this scale, it was required. And then ultimately, as we continue to build the rest of the project, as part of the kind of the final phase, the last 3 buildings, the internal road to this project will ultimately connect over to Sullivan Road as well at some point in the future, if Sullivan Road is ever improved or whatnot, as part of the overall development of the area.
Okay, and I know you were talking about landscape on the, I guess that's the north side of the building from the turnpike?
Yes, sir. So, yes, sir.
There's a lot of already natural buffer. Have you ever considered leaving some of that buffer and?
So the way the topography of the site sits overall, we have to design and build the first 2 buildings in coordination with the rest of the property, even though that's not what we're here talking about today. We're not submitted for zone, for site plan approval on the rest of the property. The way the property sits is the first 2 buildings sit quite a bit higher than the turnpike interchange. Then the property starts to fall as you travel, let's call it north.
North, right.
Yep, as you travel north down the turnpike, the natural topography of the site starts to become lower, much lower than the turnpike. And so we master plan the whole property so that it can all be developed. So the first 2 buildings, that area is the dirt is being cut down to lower the elevation, and that dirt is being moved over to the other portions of the property to raise the property. Now, all that coordination also goes with, keeping in mind the pond that's there. We do not want to impact that pond negatively in any way. We want it to stay there. We want it to be a feature for the park and of the site and be, beautification for the property. And so obviously we can't raise or lower the pond. It's got to stay where it is. So we do have limitations around the overall development. But to give you an idea, the first 2 buildings from the current, what the elevation is out there today, it'll be lower, which will get it down to about level, plus or minus a foot or 2 with the turnpike elevation, and that dirt's being moved down to the other phases. So from a landscape, to go back to your question, long way of answering your question, from a landscape standpoint, any vegetation we can leave along the current property line, we will leave. It's beneficial to us. It's, versus going and replanting a bunch of trees that take 5, 7 years to mature. It's much more beneficial to us, both from a cost standpoint and just an overall visual standpoint, to leave any existing vegetation. But because we have to cut down that site, that dirt work, to move it over to the other portions, the grades change, and so, you know, we're limited on slopes per the code and how steep those slopes can be, and retaining walls per the code and how high those can be. And we're staying within all of those, what's allowed on all those.
Right.
But you have to have a certain, you have to cut down, then have a certain slope, and then you can leave vegetation that exists.
Right.
So we will leave what we can, but there are limitations to it because of the overall site topography.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I don't have any questions at this time, other than you talked about altering the topography, and the rationale behind that is to level off the construction site. I mean, what is the rationale behind changing the topography and
So,
moving soil and things
Okay.
like that?
so not being a civil engineer, but I can give you my best developer answer that I can. So the site right now has about plus or minus 90 feet of elevation change from one portion of it to the other at its most dramatic changes. So we're not gonna level it so that we have one big flat site. We're not allowed to do that, by the way, per code. We have maximum cut and fills that we're allowed to work within. So there will be elevation change between the buildings. They will not all be at the same elevation. Matter of fact, they'll be significantly different as the overall property is developed. But, you know, I know you never want to hear the word because it's unfeasible from a cost standpoint. But to haul in a whole bunch of dirt to raise a portion of the site, or haul off a whole bunch of dirt to lower a portion of the site, becomes unfeasible. So what you do is you cut down a portion of it, utilize some of that dirt over here to raise a portion of it. So instead of at the end there being a 90-foot difference in elevation, while there still may be a 90-foot elevation difference from the first building to the last building, in the middle, you may have some buildings that sit 20 feet below these or 60 feet above these. But you're kind of creating dirt to create large pad flat areas within the overall site to build your buildings. So overall, there'll still be a lot of elevation change there. The lake won't be impacted. There's not a change in elevation to the lake, obviously. The quality of the water will only get better because we're going to treat any water before it's being, goes into the lake, et cetera. So from that standpoint, it's all better for the site. But there will be dirt cut from certain pads and added to other pads so that you can create these large areas for the buildings.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I don't have no questions. I mean, more commentary, but it's just commentary. It has nothing to do with what you want to do. I remember these, designs are concerned with the residents, how visual it's going to look and all that. A whole bunch of people, not only for you, but for all the other technically, commercial size warehouses, this concept and whatnot. Like, hey, get rid of the 90-degree angles and this and that and make undulating lines, on top of the roofs. Make it a green roof where you could have, different plants on top. So it basically camouflages the place because you can get efficiency and all that. Obviously, that's expensive to get off, but it's something that you see in a lot of places now. But other than that, I have no comments. I mean, I understand what you're going with the concept, what you're trying to do, and how you're trying to be more efficient on space for you inside the first two buildings and some of the designs that you're trying to implement. So I have no questions. Ladies?
Well, I'm interested in knowing, you mentioned that you've had other projects such as this, and how have they turned out as far as tenants and?
So for our company, we started this platform 6 years ago. Prior to that, I was doing similar things for the last 11 years for other companies, but started this company 6 years ago. To date, we've built about 9 million square feet throughout the Southeast. So far, everything's going really well. We have very little vacancy across our portfolio. I would say our standard lease-up time is, for a building of this size, is around 9 months. We do focus on smaller buildings. These may seem really large to some people, but in our world, they're pretty small. We typically don't build million square foot, large cross-dock distribution centers. We've built a couple of larger buildings in the 700,000 square foot range, but our average size building is about 190,000 square feet, multi-tenant buildings, higher TI, higher office space inside. That's kind of our bread and butter. finding municipalities that, you know, have other qualities in the area and other, you know, resources, meaning like the tenants that go to these buildings typically want to be close to home. You know, it's they want other amenities in the area. And so we try to build product that fits in with that and not being an eyesore. I mean, we understand industrial is not mixed-use retail, obviously. And so it's sometimes hard to live in the same, you know, in the same area, but we've tried to do a good job of creating a product that's attractive as it can be for an industrial property, attracting the right type of high-credit tenants, giving a good work-life balance to the employees that are in these, you know, in these facilities. And I mean, honestly, the PUD that was put in place here was done really well done, and giving the city opportunity for tax revenue, job creation, but also in an area that has a lot of other amenities. And I don't see our project being a you know, detriment at all to the area. I think it's going to be a benefit. You're going to have a lot of employees that are using those amenities and going to those restaurants or shopping at that grocery store, or hopefully, you know, maybe they don't have to go have healthcare very often, but it's there if it's needed, right? But we look at it as a huge positive, kind of being in this area and being, you know, not in as part of a big industrial park where there's just tons of other industrial uses.
Interesting, thank you.
And something else, and I know this is about a variance, but Citrus Grove, well, excuse me, Turkey Farm Road is actually from your building is gonna intersect onto Citrus Grove, probably, you know, 5 iron from North Hancock. You know, trucks are gonna depart your property to get back to the turnpike, gonna come out Citrus Grove and go up to Hancock to the turnpike. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So what are we doing about traffic in that general area with, I know you're gonna have 3 lanes of traffic in and out of your project, and I'm asking you this now so I don't have to worry about asking it later, because you're gonna get that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, our proposed development does not generate a new traffic signal at that intersection. We would like to have a new traffic signal at that intersection. It would be a benefit to our project. We would be happy to be part of the solution for that. But the traffic study for the area already incorporated our development up to 1.4 million square feet. We're actually building a little less than that. It's going to be, I mean, it's close, but it's you know, a little bit less than 1.4 million square feet overall through the entire build out. And right now, it's not warranting a new signal at that intersection. So therefore, we can't just say, hey, we'd like a new signal here and we'll pay for it. I mean, that's not, it's
Right,
completely.
so have you done a traffic study already?
It was part of the original PUD, and since we're staying under those counts, the traffic study wasn't warranted. But if the other neighboring properties are developed at some point, I mean, we're trying to be a good neighbor. We've worked out an agreement with our neighbor on the Turkey Farm Road to get some right of way from them, which has already all been done at this point. But that way we can build the road, they can access it in the future. If at some point a signal is warranted, we'd be happy to have conversations with neighboring, you know, property owners about being part of that solution to a signal, because it'd be great for our project. If the city could figure out how to get a signal put in, we'd be happy to be a contributor to that as well.
All right, I'm done, Oscar.
Denise?
Can you show the slides back to the, from the Turnpike view?
Yes.
Trying to make sure I understand it.
So, all right, so these 3 viewpoints here. Okay, so as we walk through them, we'll be traveling south on the turnpike, kind of, you know, as you see orange, green, blue. So this is the first one, and like I said, this assumes all existing vegetation goes away. It's the first one, second one, and this is where there's an existing mound that kind of, if you're out there today, you can kind of look and see there's an existing mound there within the right of way that's staying. and then third.
And that one is,
This one is not quite on North Hancock Road, but right at North Hancock Road and the exit ramp, roughly. It's kind of like right where as you're getting off and going to take a right, that would be that one. And these trees are not shown at full vegetation. I mean, we didn't want to show you something that hides the whole building, and then we plant the trees and you say, that doesn't look like that. So this is kind of like, 12, 18 months after the trees have gone in, but obviously there's years of maturity left.
no other questions?
Well, I mean, I think my concern is the traffic, because if you've ever been on Hancock, when there's an accident at that turnpike, at that exit, all the trucks come barreling down Hancock, and there's residential, schools, stores, et cetera, and there's 2 lanes north, 2 lanes south. And I've watched that live many times. So I know you mentioned that you don't have to do the 3 lanes, you don't have to do the different aspects to add, the beautification, and, always the city appreciates, but why Minneola? Like, what is your appeal here?
I think there's a lack of this type of industrial space in the city. There's really not any new Class A industrial space, especially with this type of access and amenities in the city. You can go 10, 12 miles north, I guess, up to Groveland, and there's lots of big box industrial buildings there, no amenities, in my opinion. You can go to Popka, similar story, tons of industrial space, no real amenities. From a work-live balance, Minneola seems like a pretty great place to call home, I think, in a lot of ways. I think you've probably seen that come to fruition through a lot of the residential development here and how quick it's getting purchased, and prices are going up. And I think you're seeing that as part of like the Crooked Can Brewery, for example, and their commitment to come here, and some of the other retail groups that I hear are kind of in the mix and getting ready to do the same. So I think it's a good city. I think cities in general, not to weigh in on how the city's run by any means, but cities in general need a balance, right? You need job creation, you need tax revenue, as well as you need residential housing to support those things. And we want to be that partner for the city. I mean, we're open ears. We never try to come in with an iron fist or a hammer and say, this is what we're doing. It's always collaborative. At least that's how we try to work. We really don't want to spend time arguing. We'd rather spend time coming to solutions. I think that's good for everyone. It doesn't mean we're always going to see eye to eye on everything or agree, but that's the mentality and approach we like to use. We try to represent ourselves in these. Yes, Tara and the Scormans have helped us to date with some of this, because we look at, although we're not technically partners in this deal by any means, we bought the land from them. They've been a great acting partner. I mean, they've been supportive of what we're trying to do. We're supportive of what they're trying to do. So they've represented us in some of these hearings, and we're greatly appreciative of that. But we try to come, represent ourselves and be face-to-face and have these conversations. So Minneola has given us that opportunity to do that. Staff's been good to communicate with. So that's why we're here, to continue that relationship.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to open up the public comments. Kevin, you got anything?
Kevin.
And I would stay there if I were you. Knowing Kevin, you could come up, Kevin. I mean, to the.
It confused me. We have the same name, so I was, if I was supposed to ask
Gets
myself questions.
confusing.
Yeah, that's right. He's going to probably ask you questions directly there at
Yeah.
the same time. So.
All right, just for the record, Kevin Carey, 20237 Sugarloaf Mountain Road. So just looking at this, just some of the questions, I just had highlights. In one of the slides, you had billboards that were shown. Are those going to be LEDs, or are those going to be regular?
So there will be 2 billboard locations along the turnpike, but we do not control those pieces of
Okay.
land. Those are the previous landowner's property.
Okay.
Or they have
Okay, just if there's any kind of consideration for those, if the billboards are LEDs, just make sure that they are dimmable. Usually a lot of them will have dimmable at night, so that way you're not blinding people that live nearby. We were just talking about the traffic part. I know everyone's talking about that, being a civil engineer and dealing with that. And I brought this up before. You've got this development plus Founder's Ridge that's next to it, plus the neighborhoods. We need to look at all that together. I mean, regardless whether they're there or not, you could make a case for, they're coming no matter what. You mean, there have been talks already, so they're going to be coming. We should need to look at all of that as a whole and not just individual pieces. Because we look at individual pieces, then one piece goes in, the next piece goes in, and the next thing, well, I didn't do it, it wasn't us, we just start throwing the blame around. It really should be something that we look at as an entire thing, that no matter who comes in here, we know who all the players are, we know where they are, just let's look at it as one whole thing. There's also a warrant for signal warrants that are a 4-hour warrant. So if you have specialty areas like industrial areas like this or warehouse areas like this that have discharges, everyone gets off at 3 o'clock and everyone starts hightailing it out of there, you can make a case to warrant a signal based on that discharge alone, which is when you're going to see most of your problems. Everyone's going to start backing up on Turkey Farms Road, then Hancock, Citrus Grove. You're going to start noticing that and getting more complaints. So you can look at it that way too. So that's just one other thing that we may want to look at in the future. There was, in the packet you sent, that there are some Minneola gateway signs that you show that are on Hancock. Which direction are they facing? That was
On one of these.
well, it was in the packet. I don't know if that's in here or not. I came in late, so I don't know if that was in here or not. I didn't see all the beginning stuff.
Minneola Gateway, I'm not sure.
It looks like these. These are the ones, they were in the packet. They showed the gateway signs.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I don't think that's part of anything we've ever put together, I don't know.
Well, it was in the packet that came, that was on, it's online, so I just was curious as to what that had to do with this. I mean, it's probably part of the whole Hills development, but
As far as for our site specifically.
not for your site
Not-
specifically,
it's
no.
not ours.
Okay.
We will have a monument sign
Okay,
for the tenants to have their names on, as you enter the park.
Okay.
But it's not any sort of highlit LED sign or anything like that.
okay, so then the part in here with the PUD items that talks about Top Golf and Dave and Buster's, that's not part of this either?
That'd be awesome, but it's not.
It was in it was a document saying that the hills can be developed to have Top Golf
I know.
and Dave and Buster's, and I thought, does Minneola really want a Top Golf here?
Got the view.
So, anyway,
The Dave and Buster's, yeah, for the kids to do stuff.
yeah, okay, well, that was in there, so maybe a lot of my comments are gonna be, yeah, so then a lot of I just don't know why it was in there, it kind of makes it confusing. So one of the questions I had that does apply to yours, in your drawings, you have a cul-de-sac over here?
Correct.
What's it for?
Because it's a public road, so Turkey Farm Road will be public.
Uh-huh.
So fire trucks, emergency vehicles, things like that will need a place to turn around. So if a fire truck were to go in,
But what do they have to turn, if they have to go down here, what are they turning around for? Because they could go into here and come around.
correct, but so that it's not a dead end, we put, is there an issue with it or something you'd like to see different there?
Well, I know what those end up being. You're gonna get a whole lot of tire marks and people are gonna find out, and it's just, there's no point in it. It doesn't serve anything down here. For the city's benefit, if it's gonna be a public roadway, I mean, a fire truck can turn around there, but it can also come in through here and come around and turn around. I just don't see the purpose of this, and that's just gonna end up being a place where cars go, they start doing donuts, and then garbage starts collecting. So, when you have a cul-de-sac like there was nothing at the end of it, it's just gonna end up being that. The side that you have over here in your drawing packet, you had this cul-de-sac on the west side. I guess north is going that way, so west side. This one here, you have people coming in, and then you have it like you have the stop sign on the wrong side of the road in your drawing, and you may want to correct that for when it comes back as an actual site plan, instead of the variance part. But I just was curious as to why we have a cul-de-sac over here. I know in your final drawing, one of these here, it was back here somewhere, when you had the finished one. Is it the last one?
Went all the way to the end.
That one, okay. So here you have the cul-de-sac here, and then that serves down all the buildings down in this northwest parcel here. But I just didn't understand.
I anticipate that being probably a roundabout of some sort in the future. It's not today, but as part of
Okay.
future development, it would be reconstructed.
if it can be for that, it just doesn't make sense. Because you're gonna have people come up if it doesn't get converted to a roundabout, then it's a circular, everyone's gonna pull up and go, where do I go? There's this giant open area, and it'll be very confusing.
Yeah, it's conceptual.
Okay, and that's fine, I just was curious as to the purpose of it, and it can be corrected before it comes to site plan would be great, or have a decision made. And then all the vegetation that you show in all the drawings that are back here, like along the turnpike that Joanna was bringing up, do we know, I know, it shows in the concept showing your site distance study that here's where it is now, here's where it'll be in the future, and you can't see through to see the building, but I'm curious as to how long do these take to grow? Like, are we talking 5 years, 15, 20 years?
There's
Before-
different types of vegetation along there, but we
Okay.
are not trying to say that you won't be able to see the building. You will see
Okay.
the building. It's showing that you wouldn't be able to see the top of the dock doors at full vegetation.
Okay. And I think, yep, that was all I had, so. Anyway, just thoughts to
you.
consider for the future, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Sir? Sir? Anyone else? No, we're good. All right. Bring it back up to the committee.
Yep, I'm okay.
You're okay? Everyone? All right. Who's gonna make a motion then?
Well, I'll make the motion.
All right.
We don't have to go through all the gobbledygook in the write-up, just the resolution, correct?
That's right. I'm just going to remind you all, if there's been any ex parte communications about this case, now would be a good time to go ahead and disclose that, meaning if you, for example, spoke to the applicant that was not right here at this hearing, or spoke to your neighbor about the project, this would be the time to disclose that. If you don't have any, then that's fine too.
Don't have any.
Don't have any.
I
All
don't
right,
have any.
thank you.
None.
Motion, resolution 2025-25, Camp Lake Industrial Variance approved, as stated in the resolution. That good enough?
Perfect.
All right, that makes sense. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye, okay. We barely hear you like it.
I know. A little mouse tonight.
All right,
And I was gonna say, did you say?
good to go. Motion carries.
Sir, can I say something to you? It's, I wasn't here to get on your case or not, but a lot of questions are coming to you. And just make sure you're prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir. I appreciate your time tonight, and thank you for the support.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Let's bring those traffic studies up to date. P.S.
All right. There's nothing else? All right.
This is all part of-
Your shot. I got nothing.
Oh, I don't
turn.
really have much either, except we have a city council meeting tomorrow night, 6:30. If you'd like to join us, please do.
Are you intending to pick somebody for the committee?
That is our intention, is to hold that vote tomorrow to fill that fifth
First thing or last
spot.
thing?
I think
I'd
it's
hope
item
first thing.
15. I think it's like item 15.
Because the applicants will probably be here,
Yeah,
so.
you want to keep them here to see how interested they are, and so how long these could take sometimes, and nothing. It's a if they
Right.
walk out, like, oh, I guess he's not the right person,
Right.
or she's not the right person, so.
But our intent is to pick that fifth, to fill that space, so.
Got a new
Any events in the community,
Like
Debbie,
7.
because you're like my social director
Oh,
for what's
right.
going on in the community.
Well, also, if you haven't seen already, our library has been open. It is
Yes.
gorgeous.
Yes.
It is really beautiful. We're going to have a ribbon cutting. We're hopefully going to have that on the 25th of October. And that, I believe, is on a Saturday around 9:30. Love to have you join us for that opening. But right now it is open, and there's lots of little kids in there enjoying it right now.
It was beautiful.
It is really beautiful. So that hopefully will happen on October 25th. And of course, we have Safe Night Out on Halloween the 31st, and that'll be at Trailhead Park.
Yeah, this year's flying by.
And did I see some market was combined from is there like, not just a farmer's market or something? I saw something flash, I don't know. I know
No,
they
we
do.
always have the farmer's market here, you know.
Yeah,
I think
did
it's,
someone else join with Mineola to?
not to my knowledge.
Oh, okay.
Not to my
Never mind.
knowledge.
I must
But
have
it could be.
dreamt
It could bypass me. That's easy. But those are the couple of things that are
Thank
coming
you.
up. But do, if you get a chance, see that library. It's really pretty.
All right.
Thank you. You all did a good job tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the city planner left, so we're not here. All right. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion.
Second.
All right. We are adjourned. It is 7:30 p.m.
I was going to say all in favor, and I'm not in favor of it.
You can stay here if you want.
Yeah.
He wants to get out.